it's Dr. Sarah Radabaugh at Cloud Peak Chiropractic and Wellness, and I often am recommending exercise balls like this thing to my pregnant patients, and so I wanted to do a video today to talk about how to use it while you're pregnant and why and the different things that it can help with. So for starters, basically throughout your whole pregnancy, starting really in the very beginning, because sometimes you'll feel like your hips are just falling apart even in the first trimester because the ligaments are starting to relax already because of hormones. So sitting on an exercise ball at your desk, in front of the TV, anytime you would usually be sitting in a chair, sitting on an exercise ball can be tremendously helpful during pregnancy for a lot of different reasons. For one thing, instead of sitting on a flat surface of a chair, the ball has a lot more give, and so it's a lot more supportive of mobility in your pelvis, which is really important during pregnancy. It just helps keep your pelvis more fluid. As you can see, as I'm sitting here, I'm instinctively just moving a little bit, and that little bit of dynamic movement is just way better for my pelvis than sitting on a hard chair. So just that simple change. When I was pregnant, I would sit on this in front of my computer almost all the time because it was just so incredibly helpful. When you are sitting on one of these things, you want to make sure that your hips are either, I'm going to just turn this way, that your hips are higher than your knees. So this is about the minimum where I've got like a right angle at my hip, but you wouldn't want to be where your knees are higher than your hip. So make sure the ball is appropriately sized for you. These come in different sizes, and it goes according to your height. So you'll want to get a ball that fits you, whether you're tall or short. So sitting on it is tremendously helpful. It's also really helpful during labor and early labor. It's a great tool to have. I actually, with my labor with my son, I sat on this thing for I think 8 hours and my midwife finally had to make me get off of it because the contractions didn't hurt when I was sitting on the ball, but at some point she needed me to get off the ball so we could actually make things happen. But just sitting on the ball can be incredibly helpful because you're going to be amazed by how much your pelvis just opens and relaxes when you're sitting on the ball. Some little exercises you can do. A little bit of hip circles, kind of think about like a hula hoop type motion, whether it's circles or figure eights, just going back and forth to stretch. Whatever movement feels good. If I had a pregnant belly, my belly would be hanging down just like this in front of me, and that sitting on the ball allows the belly to move forward rather than be tucked inside. And so sometimes that can just feel so good to let your belly hang down. You can even use this after baby arrives. I have a funny story. We got in the habit of bouncing my daughter on a ball just like this one when she was a newborn. And we got to the point where she really, really liked that, and it was really hard to get her to go to sleep any other way. And my husband was so frustrated by this because he was just exhausted by bouncing on the ball for hours at a time. One day, I was bouncing her on this ball and the ball popped. And so we were fine, luckily, we weren't injured, but my husband refused to get us another ball because he was so tired of bouncing on the ball. So I'll share that. It can be a helpful tip with newborns, but try not to get completely dependent on it. And make sure you're using safety, so make sure that you're not unstable, that you're not going to fall off the ball. So please ask any questions that you have about using exercise balls. I hope that was helpful.